and it's comment that if anybody came back, it would be my grandmother.
And it's kind of a special gift because you got to meet the grandson.
Yeah, very well.
That's very nice.
His name was also Hugh, and he was the daughter's son, and it was a gift knowing him because he never put on airs. He didn't do anything. He was just a lovely, lovely man. He gave us so many stories of that time. He just passed away a couple of years ago in his 90s. And so there was a real connection. Mind you, he was a young boy when his grandparents were alive. And but there are lots of his stories, and I was blessed to have been there to hear them firsthand, because usually in places like this we don't firsthand.
Right. It's a nice connection, though.
It is a lovely connection, and that's why I'm back.
That's why I'm still here.
That's why I'm still here.
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful home.
It's a gorgeous home. It's the beautiful woodwork. Most of the stained glass windows are original. The furnishings are original to the period. And so we're just very, very fortunate to still have this in our midst when so many of the houses and the buildings are gone.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the upper crust; it was the middle crust. So to see this,
Everything was so extravagant, though, right?
yeah. And remember, there were about 5 other houses like this on the street. So I was really blessed. But I better go because I see Thomas coming out.
I'm on you.
Thank
you very much.
It's lovely to meet you.
Nice
to meet you. I actually just came out for a breath of fresh air.
Well, there you
You
go.
are a breath of fresh air.
Flattery.
Maybe after, if you can take pictures of the people in their
Yeah,
that'd be
that's beautiful.
She's our videographer.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we bet.
Yes.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah. Are you having fun?
Oh, yeah.
We always do. We
that's
love what
good.
we're doing.
It's a beautiful place, and so
yeah.
many of these buildings have stories.
We love the history and the mystery and potential
And
spiritualism.
And I understand that, and if the environment leads itself to that, then we've done our job.
Yes.
Exactly.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chopper now.
Choppa, get to the
Choppa.
choppa.
Choppa. Choppa. That was really cool. She's very nice. Very nice. That was a super nice dress. Holy coly. Yeah, they're all on a move, ready to roll.
Yeah, because my house is a little...
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there you go.
My name's Jas.
Oh, hi, Avery.
Sherry.
Avery?
Yeah.
Avery. I love
Oh,
that.
you're
And that's
warm.
Jen.
I'm Jen.
She's our assistant, our
Our
official
assistant, our crew.
Our crew
Entourage.
of one.
Our crew of one.
We're brand new. We're about 19 episodes into our local podcast.
Okay,
We're
I
Winnipeg.
saw your thing. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
We're Winnipeg's first and only paranormal podcast, meaning in the fact that we consistently every week put out an episode.
Yeah.
We want to sort of like explore, get to know more things in our town.
Yeah, people share people's stories.
Dismiss urban legends, hear people's stories.
Yeah.
So, and we've even done research on people's houses too. Not investigate, like go in, and we don't do that stuff, but just
Historical research,
to find out what perhaps is the reason.
My house isn't very old, but I know that someone died in it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. That might be it.
But we'd love to hear that story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. What kind of info do you want? My email?
However best to get a hold of you.
Okay.
Don't worry, we won't stalk you.
No. Well, I won't. No, I'm just.
Apparently, that's my job.
Yeah.
Or me with Kristen from Square Page.
Oh, yeah. She was so
Finally got that.
busy.
But wasn't
Yeah.
she was lovely.
She was
Oh, I
awesome.
did one tour with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
interviewed her yesterday.
We interviewed her
She's
last
so
week.
busy.
What a wonderful interview.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's her business card. If
A business
Carol
card.
lives, if you do podcasts, I don't know if you listen or anything.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah.
check us out.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. What are you guys on?
Everything.
I send out, yeah, we're on all
We're on everything, but yeah.
We send out our episodes every Monday night. So there's a new episode every Monday.
Yeah.
Morning, night.
iTunes, Spreaker, FM, whatever.
That's right.
I don't
Google
know.
Play,
Everything, yeah.
iTunes,
Yeah.
Spreaker, Spotify.
Okay, yeah. I usually listen
Yeah,
on
YouTube.
Spotify.
Yeah.
We haven't done much with YouTube because
No.
like, we're audio, and that's just audio that goes out. But
Yeah.
we do we'll take video today, and when
Yeah.
we go out, we'll try and take video.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks.
Interesting. Okay.
Excellent.
Have a great day. Enjoy the
Thanks,
rest
you
of your
too.
day.
Have fun.
We can interview Thomas.
Yeah.
I thought you asked me about that.
We would love for you to tell us some of your
Yes.
stories and your tales.
Choo-choo-choo. Have a seat. Get in the
How's
hot
it
seat.
been, well, first, how's it been working for you? Is this
Very
working?
nice.
Oh,
You
it's
happy
good,
with
yeah.
this location?
Yeah.
No, we've
I just wish it was a little bit warmer today.
Well-
Jeez Louise.
I
know.
It's warmer in the sun.
I know it is, yeah. We keep strolling out once in a while. It's like-
I do have a long extension cord.
Yeah.
But, yeah. At least it's dry. That's the best.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's dry.
Yeah.
I think we're through the worst of
I
it
think
for
so.
today. Maybe
Yeah.
tonight, but we'll see.
Yeah.
No, it's
That's
supposed to be
fine.
20 later, so.
Yeah.
No, it's going really well. We've had a couple of people come talk to us.
Yeah.
And have people leaving us their information and contact at a later time because we realize they're probably on a time constraint
Yeah.
with going
Right.
to the tours.
Jump
and
into all the
stuff,
places,
so.
yeah.
Excellent.
But no,
We're
it's
not
very good.
pressuring them.
No.
No.
So, and we did actually find the information
Yeah.
of the Dalnavert website for the history because I want to be consistent and
Right.
keep it at that till our time. And then we're talking about the historic part of the museum and just how it trails into. I've come here before when it's Victorian Christmas. I
Yes.
love that. And the thing is, the big part about Victorian Christmases in the days of old was telling ghost stories.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? So we're just kind of weaving into all this right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
As people come sporadically, and then I'll just edit out. Probably going to get like 2 episodes out of this. The first one will go out on Monday for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's good. How much? Hour and a half.
hour and 22 minutes.
Yeah.
We just banter and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, But please have a seat quickly. if you
Oh,
can,
okay.
And then tell us a couple stories.
Yeah.
A couple of stories.
As many or much as you
Oh,
want.
what have you
On
been
the
told
spot.
already?
Well, people sense a certain vibe, and they feel that Gertie rules the house with an iron fist. And they can smell her perfume
Her
when
lilac.
she's not approving of something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And haven't heard any stories of Hugh though. Like, have you had any feelings when you
From Hugh John?
Yeah.
Are you recording this part now?
We are.
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
We record all the time, everything.
We take the best part.
Yes.
And I will edit out your ums and ahs. So don't
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'll make you sound like a rock star.
Fantastic. Hugh John MacDonald is quite an interesting figure for Manitoba history in that he came here first with the Wolseley exhibition. So he was part of the group that came out from Eastern Canada to confront Riel and arrived at Fort Garry. But of course, by that point, Riel had moved on. But that was his first visit to the Red River settlement. And then he came back years later after getting established in his law career and after the death of his first wife. And so he came here and reestablished at the time when Winnipeg was this booming new metropolis on the prairies and gateway to the west. And so he was part of the establishment of the roots of Winnipeg and the establishment of law here. And so he was very active and socially prominent within the city, as was his family. There's an interesting article in the Tribune that speaks about a spiritualist in Winnipeg who was only identified as the Mahatma at the time, who was doing a session in Winnipeg, and Hugh John attended that. And the quote in the Tribune was that Hugh John was struck by the experience in who they were communicating with, but the article doesn't go into much detail about what the nature of the experience was. But clearly, it was part of that culture, and it was very that's the other thing is the Hamiltons were very active in early Winnipeg and were a big part of sort of the spiritual investigation that was very popular across the whole sort of Victorian era and community.
It's sort of like a parlor thing.
Yeah.
It was a
Everyone
parlor
got
thing. It was a
together
home thing, and so much had changed so quickly with the with what we call modern technologies, with electricity and with the Industrial Revolution, that people were very accepting of spiritualist ideas. You know, there already were deep religious ideas, so the idea of a spiritualist idea wasn't that hard of a leap. So it wasn't really stigmatized the way it is now. So for Hugh John, there was sort of that engagement in it as part of that Victorian culture.
And I think he had more of a softer demeanor. He was more of like a people's people, right? Like just the way he kind of gravitated towards the poor. He just kind of seemed to have more of an open heart for people and just the possibility of things to begin with. Am I not going too off?
I think that's a fair way to describe him. You know, he was certainly he was the surviving son of John A. MacDonald, and growing up, he didn't have a lot of his father or attention because his father was the Prime Minister. His father was extremely busy and active and often away, and so he was raised more by his aunt and uncle, and who were a very Anglican religious family, very strict. So Hugh John wasn't like a teetotaler, but he was very moral, but he was also in this prominent shadow of his father, and so
he didn't want to be a lawyer or any of that. Really.
Well, his first love was the military, and he enjoyed being in the military. Although his military record, not not expensive and not necessarily remarkable. He wasn't like a great leader hero. And when he was in major actions, so when he went out to Batoche, actually got sick with a severe flu, and he was in bed while everyone else was fighting. And so he was basically watched it happen from his sick bed. He was there, but not really there. And so his military record is not something that you would jump up and down and say, hero on. But, these are the times when traveling across the prairies in a military kit was a rough experience. And so it wasn't getting ill.
His father probably, too, being his only surviving son, he probably didn't want him to fight.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't too pleased with Hugh John pursuing a military career, and definitely was a driving force in him choosing or becoming a lawyer. The good news is that he was a far better lawyer than his father. His father was a very good politician, a very inattentive lawyer. So if you had Hugh John as your lawyer, you waited a long time because, if you had John A. for your lawyer, but if you had Hugh John for your lawyer, you got the attention you wanted. Hugh John founded with his partner Tupper, founded what was originally MacDonald Tupper, now eventually became Tupper and Adams, so it was one of the earliest and longest running law firms in Winnipeg.
The sign when you enter, is that a recreation?
We got it from the law firm. So I don't know if, I think they may have, if they restored it, they did an exceptionally good job, but I think they may have just rebuilt it. We did get it from the law. They did have originally a Main Street address, a Portage and Main address, but I suspect it's a recreation.
It's still in good shape though. It's still probably 60, 80 years old.
Yes.
Wow, it's in awesome shape.
Other questions? About the house?
Sorry.
I have to say I haven't had. I'm not sure if I'm tuned to this kind of experience. I know other members of my family have had intensive experiences, but I can't say that I've had one. But I can say that we've had the Paranormal Society here, and they've done a few investigations. Square Peg Tourist does a lot of active investigations and sort of more participatory investigations with people. They've come here a number of times. They were one of their favorite venues. We've had at times recognized spiritualists come through and visit the museum, and I've had the honor of escorting them, and there seems to be something special about this area and about this area downtown. We're near the Forks. We're part of that settlement lands and part of that the deep roots that are here. It's hard not to imagine sometimes. but I can't say that I've had a personal experience, although I know that many have
Maybe
been
that's
reported
probably
to
good,
me.
But that's probably good for you because you work here every day.
Yeah.
I work here every day. I do have the privilege of being able to move through the house with my job.